Hello, hi, welcome back. I hope you are all doing well. And I'm just gonna jump right into it. We're doing the quiz, Are You in a Cult quiz, part 2 of 4 today. And it's from this book, Escaping Utopia, by Janja Lalichs and Carla McLaren. And full disclosure, I have not read this chapter yet. I haven't even finished the chapter of the previous chapter that I did the quiz from last time. In fact, I haven't even picked up this book since I filmed the last video. I've had other stuff to do, guys. That's what happens. So I'm just going to read through the questions. We'll go through them. And I don't have any references this time. Last time I had the policy letter keeping Scientology working. Today I will just be going off my experience, so anecdotal evidence for how I answer questions today. But we will first just go through the questions and then we'll talk about them after. All right. So these questions, remember this is part 2 of the quiz. There are 4 parts. The 4 parts are have to do with the framework that Janja Lalichs has created on how to assess groups to see if they're cults or not. And the first part was about the belief system, how you believe in whatever it is you believe in. And this section of the quiz is about the charismatic authority of the group. Because most cults do have a charismatic leader. So this is how to, just check in to see if the charismatic leaders in your group or religion are culty or not. All right, let's get into it. And make a mark if your answer is yes to any of these. Okay. The leader or group has an inflated sense of importance and connection to greatness. That was question 1. Number 2. Members must idealize and revere the leader and the ranking leadership. Number 3. The leader claims special powers, knowledge, and lineage, or may claim to be divine. I think it's probably like special powers, or maybe special knowledge, or maybe special lineage. I don't think it has to be all 3 powers, knowledge, and lineage. Anyways, we'll keep going. Members are often publicly shamed or berated for not living up to the ideals of the leader or group, or for not meeting the needs and or demands of the leader or group perfectly enough. Okay. Just make a mark if it's yes. Okay, let's go. The leader's needs, ideas, and desires are overriding. They delegitimize and erase the needs, ideas, and desires of group members. All right. Some members are granted access to an inner circle with special privileges and special access, and often these individuals, or at least the chosen ones, can break the group's rules without punishment. The leader can do or say almost anything without repercussions. There are no checks or balances on his or her behavior. Members are expected to dedicate every part of their lives to the leader or the group, and not doing so has grave consequences. The leader has complete control over the group's belief system, rules, and norms, none of which can be questioned. The leader belittles all other belief systems and any other leaders who may be functioning in the leader's realm. For example, other New Age leaders, in the case if the leader has a New Age philosophy. So, I guess like in a political group, if you've got a charismatic authority who's, belittling other leaders of other political groups, or in a religion group, other religions. All right, moving on. Members must display complete obedience and devotion to the leader or the group. The leader takes credit for anything good that happens and blames members for anything bad that happens. The leader treats questions and challenges as threats, and he or she may see enemies everywhere, inside or outside the cult. Members who challenge the authority of the leader or leadership group are punished, publicly humiliated, shunned, or kicked out, and may be portrayed as enemy traitors. All right, those were all the questions. So if you put a mark as a yes to any of these, and if you've done that as well on the previous quiz section, then maybe start looking into the group that you're in. But remember, we still have two more sections to get through. And according to the book, you need to have checked one or more in each of the 4 sections before you can be, more sure of if your group is a cult or not. And we're just going to run through what you should look for in healthy charismatic leader or healthy charismatic leadership. The leader or group has behavioral checks and balances in place. Members are treated as valuable individuals. They are not disciples, servants, or pawns. The leader has a sense of humor and a humane leadership style. Members retain their identities, family relationships and responsibilities, and private lives. The leader or group values, The leader or group values and promotes, members' ideas and beliefs. Guys, I get really nervous reading out loud. It's a side effect of growing up with word clearing. Okay. Members have the right to question, doubt, and challenge the charismatic authority. The leader or group deals responsibly with conflicts and challenges. There is no belittling, punishing, or shunning. Members have the freedom to come and go as they please. The leader or group considers and promotes other ideas, other beliefs, and other groups. The leader encourages critical thinking and intellectual pursuits. The group is open to the outside world and to non-believers. All right, so that's what you should be looking for. If you're the leader of whatever group you're in, or the leadership of whatever group you're in, following these, lives up to this, then that's good. So let's just go through them again a little bit, and I'll give some anecdotal evidence of why I would say Scientology hits one or more of the questions to are you in a cult in regards to charismatic leadership. The leader or group has an inflated sense of purpose and connection to greatness. Hubbard definitely put himself above everybody on the planet. He did say he was the only one that was able to discover the technology of Scientology. He actually even mentions it in the KSW Keeping Scientology Working Policy letter that I referenced last time, but I don't have the reference with me, but he does say something like, we're not going to speculate here on how I was the only one that could do this. You just have to accept it as true. He also mentioned everybody else's ideas were just pathetic and stupid and would have driven people insane. Yeah. The Sea Org and Scientologists in general consider themselves to be above the regular person. Scientologists, you going up the bridge to total freedom, you becoming clear, you become what was the word? Homos novus, new human. So I think that's a bit of inflated sense of purpose there. Members must idealize and revere the leader and the ranking leadership. Well, we've got the 3 cheers to LRH, hip hip hooray. You have to do that standing on your feet as well. So every time you're going to do 3 cheers to LRH, you got to stand up and do 3 cheers to LRH, who's not even alive. You do it to a photo or a painting on the wall. In the Sea Org, at least back in the day, which for me feels really weird to say because I don't feel that old, but I guess I am. Back in the day when I was in the Sea Org and we had the naval military style uniforms, the leadership clearly are high ranking, and ideal, like they had like, gold bars on their shoulders, gold bars on their sleeves, gold chains. And I think it's kind of like tied in culturally. You can't not be kind of impressed by that. I mean, that's like war heroes get like the medals that they can hang here on the breast, just above the breast pocket. The Sea Org has that too. Mission things for different missions. Yeah. Also, like RTC, Religious Technology Center, they're like at the top of the Scientology organization. I mean, when they come walking around, you treat them like celebrities, kind of, or like dictators. It's yes, sir, salute, not quite salute, but I mean, it's that kind of feeling to it. You stand up to attention when they come in, when leadership, anybody who's obviously in the leadership in the Sea Org does that. I don't know how many times you would standing ovation for any kind of speech that David Miscavige gives. It's not so much sitting down as sitting down, standing up exercise of the day at any of his speeches. Members are often publicly shamed or berated for not living up to the ideals of the leader or the group, or for not meeting the needs or demands of the leader or the group perfectly enough. In my personal experience, I've had to stand in front of lots of people and be berated and shamed for, not living up to the ideals of what they expect senior members to do. Even as a kid in the cadet org, in the school that the Sea Org had. That's, I was never physically abused, but definitely shamed and publicly berated a lot starting from a very young age. And there are so many stories out there of so much worse public shaming, especially from the gold base or the international base in California. Definitely checked yes on that one. The leader's needs, ideas, and desires are overriding. They delegitimize and erase the needs, ideas, and desires of the group members. This you can see in even like from the top all the way to the bottom and back up again. In Scientology, we're always thinking like when you're making decisions or if you've been acting out or whatever, you're always asked to decide what's the greatest good for the greatest number of dynamics. The dynamics is something Scientology uses to basically just put different sections of life in compartments. So your first dynamic is yourself, your second dynamic is your family, the third dynamic is your group, and the fourth dynamic is mankind. Fifth is nature and animals. Six is the physical universe. 7 is spirituality. 8 is infinity, which I never really understood. It's not infinity stones, guys. It's just the infinity. Yeah. Anyways, the needs of the first dynamic and the second dynamic almost always brushed aside, because it's the needs of the third dynamic, the group, and the fourth dynamic, which is mankind, that are always the priority. And yeah, the group's needs always go first. And who created the group's needs? It was Hubbard. He built Scientology. He made this up. He said, this is what you guys have to do. He created that. And now that's like the only thing. So you can't be like, you know what, I have to do this, something else, like I have to have a day off, or I have to not give you my money right now because I need to do that for me personally. That's like, oh, so you just don't care about mankind, you just don't care about your group, you're just being first dynamic orientated. I mean, yeah, personal needs don't mean jack diddly in Scientology. Some members are granted access to an inner circle with special privileges. I mean, everybody in the Sea Org is a little more special than every other Joe Blow Scientologist. Everybody above a certain point on the bridge is special than everybody below it. So many hierarchies in Scientology, in the counseling, auditing side of the bridge to total freedom, in the training side, in whether you're a parishioner or public, as they call it, or you're a staff member working at like a local church, or if you're in the Sea Org. And if you're in the Sea Org, there's always some organization above you, all the way up to David Miscavige. And each level above usually has its special privileges. And the leader can do or say almost anything without repercussions. Okay, so I have met David Miscavige once, very, very briefly. I have, and I mean, he didn't beat me or anything, but there have been so many stories of people that have spoken about being beaten by David Miscavige, or witnessing people being beaten by David Miscavige, and David Miscavige has not faced any consequences. There have also been stories of other people being beaten by other Scientologists, and if that Scientologist who did the beating was in higher standing of some kind, then also no repercussions. So yeah, I worked with Debbie Cook. She had a lot of special privileges, and she got away with a lot of abuse and did not have any repercussions for that. There are no checks or balances on his behavior. Hubbard also had no checks and balances on his behavior. Guys, he was like a middle-aged, decrepit old man. Sorry, middle-aged and old don't belong in the same sentence. He was well above his 30s when he started the Sea Org, and he had like 12-year-old girls as his messengers. And that's just weird behavior, and there should have been checks on that, but there weren't. As far as I know, there was no SA involved, but it's still weird behavior. And also, okay, even other than that, child labor has been used in the Sea Org in Scientology since its very beginning, since 1967, the inception of the Sea Org. Child labor has been being used, and there has been no repercussions for Hubbard or Sea Org leadership for that. So yeah. Members are expected to dedicate every part of their lives to the leader or the group, and not doing so has grave consequences. I was in the Sea Organization. That was my entire life. I had no life outside of the Sea Org. But maybe you're not in the Sea Organization. Maybe you're just a parishioner Scientologist. How much money are you giving? How much of your time are you giving? If you're not doing that, how much pressure are you under? How much disdain are you receiving? Yeah, think about that. Leader belittles all other belief systems. Scientology likes to say all belief systems are welcome. You can be a Christian and a Scientologist. You can be a Muslim and a Scientologist. They're very closely entwined right now with I forgot what the group's called. Nation of Islam, right? They're like very like, oh yeah, you can be any religion. So I've heard from other people that have left, that once you get like further on up the bridge, you find out that he thinks that's all that is BS. There's no truth in any other religion. I haven't experienced those levels because I never made it that far up the bridge. But growing up in Scientology, definite disdain for other religions. They're like, oh, those guys have no idea what they're talking about. Christians, Muslims, Jews, whatever. They have no idea. They are blind to reality. That was the like agreed upon viewpoint of other religions, even if you weren't up the bridge. And finding out the secret information where Hubbard says, oh, that's all just poppycock. I found this one to be pretty interesting. The leader takes credit for anything good that happens and blames members for anything bad that happens. I'm struggling right now to remember specific incidences, but I feel like this definitely fits in with my experience in the Sea Org. And it also fits in with other survivors' stories about David Miscavige, who like, when an event goes well, he's like, oh, I did it all. But realistically, you were standing in the middle of the stage talking. Everything else that was going on was being done by other people. So you can't take all that credit. You weren't holding the cameras. You weren't adjusting the microphones. You weren't pressing play on the video things. You weren't making the podium go lower down when you were getting up to the stage so it would make you look like a normal height. Yeah, I'm also kind of short, guys, but I'm not that sensitive about it. I don't care. I would I would think it would be kind of funny if I came up to a podium and it was like here. I would just go with it because that would be hilarious. But yeah, there's apparently some sensitivity there. And the last point, members who challenge the authority of the leader or leadership group are punished, publicly humiliated, shunned, or kicked out, and may be portrayed as enemy traitors. When I was like really, really new out of Scientology, out of the cult, like when I had woken up, I heard an awesome quote, and I don't know, I have searched the internet. If anybody else, you internet sleuths out there, you find it and know who to credit this quote to, please leave in the comments. But someone once said, the difference between a religion and a cult is what happens when you leave. And that ties into this point. You question the leadership, you question David Miscavige, you question L. Ron Hubbard. You are out on your ass, you are being harassed, you are being fair gamed. Maybe not anymore. Thankfully, so many people are speaking out, which makes me feel safer doing this. I'm a little bit of a coward. Full disclosure, guys, I probably wouldn't be doing this if there weren't already so many other people speaking out, because it's hard. It brings up a lot of trauma, and if I was being fair gamed on top of that, I would really struggle with my mental health a lot more, and I don't know if I would be able to handle that pressure. But so many people have spoken out and have been fair gamed and have been harassed, and that's something I've seen. That's something I may have participated in as a child, because they often got us kids to go with picket signs, because kids with picket signs is more impactful than adults with picket signs. So I know what that looks like. And yeah, I mean, when I left the Sea Org, I was labeled a degraded being, as in not as worthy as other beings. And then I was still in Scientology then. but because I'd left the Sea Org, I was a degraded being. And now I'm speaking out, I'm a suppressive person. Like, I've been labeled an enemy. That's the worst type of enemy you can be to Scientology, is a suppressive person. So, yeah. If you're ever wondering about your group that you're in, ask yourself, what would happen if I left? And if that's scary, if the answer to that question is scary, then please take a closer look at the group that you're in. And if you need to leave, plan it and do it safely. Right? Yeah. I think that was all the points to check see if you're in a cult. The signs of healthy, charismatic leadership or group. There was something I wanted to touch on. This one. The leader encourages critical thinking and intellectual pursuits. Critical thinking is not allowed in Scientology. No, it's always what Hubbard wrote, or what Hubbard said. You don't have any other sources. You don't look to other sources there's no peer review of Scientology other than, from the 1950s when he sent it to the American Medical Association, when he sent Dianetics manuscript to the American Medical Association and they trashed it. There's been no peer review on Scientology since then. So there's no critical thinking going on. You're not even allowed to be open-minded in Scientology. That's a bad thing. That means you're not 100% dedicated to Scientology. And encourages intellectual pursuits. If you're a Scientologist kid, like your parents are parishioners, as in they're paying to partake in Scientology, and they're not in the Sea Org, then usually, you might go to a public school, or, if your parents are well-to-do, maybe you're going to, like one of these Scientology boarding schools, like the Delphi Academy, in which case I hope you're going to a public school instead, because I think you'll get a better education there, or at least less pressure to join Scientology in the Sea Org. But usually you don't do much more than that. You go to school, and then you do your bridge, or you do your staff. Hubbard said the education system is stupid. We don't really learn anything in the education system anyways. What we really need to learn is Scientology training, how to be becoming an auditor will teach you how to handle life in general, according to Hubbard. I was raised in the Cadet Org, and we didn't get to go to school. They had their own school. So when I was in from 84, so that's quite a while ago, and I did actually go to kindergarten and first grade in a public school. That was before they had set up their own school in Clearwater. The school in Clearwater, our education was very limited. According to Hubbard, you needed to get 3 certificates in school. Like, your school education was 3 certificates, A, B, and C certificates, which is reading, writing, and arithmetic, the 3 R's. And so to get your A certificate, you had to have a vocabulary of 10,000 words. And somebody figured out that this is a 7th grade reading level or a 6th grade reading level. And once you got to that level, you did a massive test where there was like a list of 1,000 words and you had to give definitions for all of them. And if you could do that, then you got your A certificate. Your B certificate, writing, you had to be able to write, I think it was 100 words in cursive, clearly and legibly in a minute and a half, something like that. Basically, we would just memorize a text so that we wouldn't even, because somebody's supposed to read you a text and you're supposed to be able to write it. And this is because it's for auditor training. When you're an auditor, someone sits and talks to you and you have to write all that down. And it needs to be legible so that you can read it afterwards. And so that everybody else who's going to read that can read it afterwards. But basically, we would just memorize the text, and then that text would be read out loud, but we would already be well into it because we already had it memorized. And you just, cursive, write 100 words within, I think it was a minute or a minute and a half. And if it was legible and you hadn't missed any words, then you got your B certificate. And then your C certificate, mathematics. This one's the one that took me the longest because I never liked math. And I got away with not doing any math for 4 years. That's how good our education was. I got away with just reading books for 4 years. No maths. Anyways, to get your C certificate, maths, you had to be able to do flashcards for the 4 types of mathematics: addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And we had to do the table up to 12. So, yeah. And once you could do, so we would have one deck for each table. So let's say multiplication, the 12 deck would be 1 times 12, 2 times 12, 3 times 12, 4 times 12, 5 times 12, and so on up to 12 times 12. And you would mix them up and you would have to do that deck in 30 seconds. And so once you could do those four types, the 12 decks in 30 seconds, then you got your C certificate. And that was all the education that was needed. That's it. You didn't need anything more. Then you started your Scientology studies. Yeah. Excellent education. That's what I had to start with coming in to the real world as an adult at the age of 20 with a barely 4th grade level education. I could read, you guys, and I don't consider myself stupid. I don't consider myself very smart. But yeah, coming into the real world, knowing how to read and knowing how to do 4 types of math, and that's it. Having very, very little information about politics, about history, about geography. I mean, we had these types of courses too, but they were like pick and choose. If you weren't interested, you didn't have to do them. And if you chose to do Scientology courses instead, you were allowed to. Anyway, I haven't been able to help my daughter with her homework. Not that she needs it. She's way too smart for me and for school. But she goes to school. She's not getting out of it. She doesn't need much help. But I have helped her with reading. That's the one thing I've been able to help her with. She passed me in maths by the time she was in 3rd grade, if not before, probably before. She likes maths. It's fascinating. I'm like, oh no, numbers, yuck. But she's fascinated by it. And that's great. That's great. I love it for her. Anyways, I'm rambling and it's late and I'm hungry and I need to go make dinner. I did set up an email if you feel like you need to get in touch. See if I can remember it. It's in my YouTube description, but it's second gem as in a gemstone, secondgem.stockholmsyndrome@gmail.com. So if you need to reach out, you can do so, or you can just leave a comment. I do read all the comments. I really try to at least. Sometimes I'm not on for a couple days, guys. That's just how it works. Sometimes I need a break. Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. Remember, if you checked yes to any of the questions in this quiz, and you've checked yes to questions in the previous quiz as well, we still have 2 quizzes to go, but maybe start taking a look at your group. And if you need help, reach out. to me, or just Google escape cults. I did that last time, and there's a lot of stuff out there. Plan your escape. If you need to make an escape, do it safely. Mental health is important. I'm going to take a mental health walk after this, or after dinner and this. And yeah, mental health is important. Thank you for holding space. Thank you for listening. Have an excellent day. And don't be culty. All right. Bye.